There was a really important vote on the floor of the House today, and while the measure did not pass, it is an incredibly important symbolic gesture that indicates a significant shift within the Democratic Party. A plurality of House Democrats voted to discontinue sending our taxpayer dollars to Bibi Netanyahu and the ethno-state of Israel. Ultimately, the measure failed 104 to 314. Thomas Massie was the Republican who voted with 103 Democrats. Now you can say, like, well, this didn't pass. First of all, Democrats don't have a majority. And yes, you're right. There were a lot of Democrats who voted against this because AIPAC has massively infiltrated both parties in our government. Lest we not forget, AIPAC spent more than $222 million in Democratic primaries in the last few years. AIPAC owns an awful lot of Democratic representatives, but we are seeing a significant shift. We are seeing more and more Democratic members of Congress who are wanting to represent their constituents. Like, you understand the reason that there were this many votes for discontinuing military funding to Israel is because the people pushed their representatives. And we have enough people in Congress who actually care about representing the will of their constituents. We give them the political will. We tell them how to vote. We give them the political will to be able to make moves like 103 Democrats made today. Without our feedback and our support, they can't make those moves, even if they may personally want to do that. So it's really, I know people think like it doesn't matter if you call your member of Congress. Yes, it does. They need your feedback. If they hear from 1,000 constituents in a week, I really want you to vote in favor of this, then they can go to their colleagues and say, hey, my constituents really, really want this. I got 400 calls on this issue today, and I am actually wanting to be a representative for the folks in my district. And so I want to vote the way that they want me to vote. Like, hey, to my colleagues in these other districts, do you see which way the political winds are blowing? Do you see what the people want? We better get on board. And I know there are plenty of members of Congress who don't give two fucks about you, but when there is enough political pressure, right, it overrides the money from AIPAC that runs them, the money from big crypto that runs them, because we are far more powerful. At the end of the day, we are far more powerful when we collectively come together to express our will. Then members of Congress actually have to listen. When they are more afraid of us than they are of AIPAC, when they are more afraid of us than they are of the money that runs them, when they find their courage because we find ours, then we get political change. And I know that that seems really slow. I know it seems frustratingly slow. Back in January of this year, I made a video response to a creator who, he's like a whole host of problematic, but he made this claim that you must curate your vote in the general election, in the midterms, around one issue, and that's abolishing ICE. And I was like, that's an absolutely ass take, not only because in a representative democracy that is functioning well, you will have a diversity of opinions because representatives should represent the positions, policies, and opinions and will of the constituents in their district. And America is incredibly diverse. So we're not going to have everybody having the same platform and same policy agenda going to Congress if representative democracy is functioning as it should. For example, I would love to see Republican Cliff Bentz, who represents Eastern and Southern Oregon, be unseated. But the kind of Democrat who could unseat a guy in a deeply red district is not going to be the same as somebody running in my district in Portland, Oregon. That's just the way it is. That's something that we have to accept. We can't force people to our will. We can educate people about policy, right? We can work to inform people and change their minds, but to expect that you would curate your vote in the general election around one issue, that's how we got here in the first place, right? If you want a different candidate on the ballot, then you have to get involved much earlier in the process. When you get to the general election and your choice is like a Democrat who's like, no, they're okay, they're not great, they're maybe taking money from some corporate sources and they don't have the right position on everything, versus a literal fascist trying to destroy democracy, supporting Stephen Miller's ethnic cleansing and running of concentration camps in this country. Like, you have limited choices. You can't magically constitute somebody else and put them on the ballot. We are operating in the real world, not in a fantasy land. If you want more progressive candidates on the ticket, then you need to get involved in the primaries much earlier. You also need to work to organize, not just do activism, not just go to protests, but to organize on a local level, to educate people in your community. If you want the constituency to have more progressive ideas, If you want more progressive people elected to Congress, then you have to do that local organizing work in your community to educate people, to build connections, to inform people why they should change their mind on these different issues, and then they will elect somebody different. What we have seen is that the American people have become educated very quickly about how AIPAC is funding both parties and government, about how Israel is spending billions of our tax dollars to wage war, to commit atrocities in Palestine, in Lebanon, in Iran, and how the American people are like not super down with any of it. Now that they know, they don't want any of this. I made a video several weeks ago where I said that once you see what Israel is doing, once you know, you can't unknow, you can't unlearn it. And that means that Israel's power and influence will be diminishing because we can't become ignorant to what they're doing. People are not going to revert to supporting Bibi Netanyahu's agenda. They're not. The tide is turning and that progress is happening. And I know that we want it to happen quicker. I know we want there to be a switch to flip. I know we want ICE to be abolished now. I know we want this funding to stop now. And people are frustrated that it's taken so much, years and years and years. The place to shift opinion and to get that change is in your community, is on a grassroots level. That's what organizing is. That kind of change work doesn't happen in a general election in the midterms. You're way too fucking late if you're getting involved then. The reason that you are seeing 103 Democrats vote the way that they voted today is because people have become informed on a local level and people have decided to push their elected officials, or they have vocalized their opinion and they have given that political capital, that political will to their elected officials who are already aligned with them on this issue. So now those officials can be very, very public in their opposition. And I know we can say, well, this was just symbolic and they lost. I'm telling you, it constitutes a change. It constitutes a shift that is going to continue to snowball. People are not going to suddenly decide to support AIPAC. Again, it's over for them, right? This is the decline of AIPAC and Israel's influence in our government if we, the people, decide that that's what we want. We don't want this anymore. It takes us becoming educated and then acting.
So this is an important moment because nothing will be the same on this issue ever again, I think, after this vote. Okay. It used to be that just a small number of House Democrats would vote against sending taxpayer dollars to weapons for the Israeli military. Then 2 years ago, 37 House Democrats voted for a measure to not send billions of dollars to the Israeli military. Today, over 100 House Democrats voted for a measure to block billions of dollars in weapons to Netanyahu. That is enormous progress. That is a victory for our movement, for security, peace, and justice for all people.
Rep. Greg Kazar is absolutely right. There's no going back for the Democratic Party. This is an inevitable shift as long as we, the people, keep the pressure up. The more we educate our neighbors, the more we build our power, the more we tell our reps what we need. They can't overcome the power of the people. They will have to bend to it. Even in this vote, Hakeem Jeffries didn't whip folks against it. He didn't whip folks against it at all. He said he would stay out of the way and he would not give members of Congress who voted with Thomas Massie to end funding to Israel a hard time. And that already is a shift. He can't turn on AIPAC, who runs him and funds him and has made his career possible. But even Hakeem Jeffries cannot stand in the way of the will of the people if we decide to act. So we need to keep the pressure up. We need to keep the pressure up. We need to keep giving feedback to our elected officials. Any of them who voted correctly today need to get their flowers. They need to get that positive feedback from their constituents. So if that's your member of Congress, give them a call. Thank them. If your member of Congress either didn't vote at all or voted against this, you need to let them know what you think. You need to say, get with the program or get voted out, because the people have the power and we are fed up with this shit. We are fed up with our tax dollars funding atrocities overseas, and we're not gonna allow this to continue. Keep it up, y'all. We're moving in the right direction and we need to keep going.